I'm Mark Turner, Wildlife Extension Specialist at OSU, and today we're going to be talking about how wildlife respond during and after a wildfire. One thing that a lot of folks often ask questions about after seeing a large area that's burned, especially during a big wildfire event, is what exactly happened to all the animals that were there and how long is it going to take for animals to come back to those areas. Something that's important to consider and always keep in the back of your mind is that the vast majority of wildlife species that we have are fire adapted. So they may not necessarily respond positively to fire, especially in the immediate while it's happening, but certainly they respond very quickly and they're able to both avoid the fire and also potentially benefit from things that the fire provided. During a large fire event, most of those animals are either going to see the smoke or smell it. They may also see the fire, and they're very quickly going to make moves to escape that fire. So for something like a deer, oftentimes they're going to run out of the area. Same for something like a rabbit. Certainly animals like birds are able to fly away. For species that are smaller, including things like turtles and snakes and reptiles that are not able to actually run away from the fire quickly enough, they actually, most of the time, are actually going to stay put and seek out areas that avoid fire. So they may get down into a drainage, some of them may burrow into the ground, and by simply getting into an area that's not going to burn, they're going to survive the fire event and then obviously be able to go on about their lives afterwards. When animals return from the fire kind of depends on the species. Again, some of those animals are not even going to have left the site. For other animals, they may actually flock back in relatively quickly to use some of the resources that fire provides. For example, there may be a bunch of insects that were killed during the fire, and so oftentimes you'll see birds even hunting right on the edge of the fire or just behind the fire event, eating some of those insects that were consumed during the fire. For species like deer, generally they're not going to use the area that was burned until things start regrowing, but relatively soon after the growing season starts back, within a month or so, they're going to be back in that area eating those relatively nutritious sprouts from those plants. So as I mentioned before, several wildlife species actually do benefit and seek out areas that were impacted by wildfire. Fortunately though, given all of the negatives that happen with wildfire, we don't actually have to wait for a wildfire event to occur for those species to benefit. We can simply use prescribed fire, and by using prescribed fire in a way that we reduce wildfire risk and also benefit wildlife species, we can see benefits to multiple resource objectives. One thing to consider is that the wildlife response is going to vary based on the vegetation response, and a lot of the plant community response is actually going to vary based on previous management. For example, the area behind me was actually treated with several prescribed fires leading up to a wildfire event that occurred about a year ago. And as you can see, there's a lot of vegetation in the understory. Most of the trees are fine. And whenever we compare that to an area that was burned with a wildfire where there was not that previous management ongoing, a lot of the overstory trees were killed and there's not nearly as much vegetation in the understory. So some of our management actions, including prescribed fire, can actually help reduce some of the negative effects that we might see from a wildfire event, such as overstory tree loss. For more information on wildlife response to fire, check out some of the resources linked here on the SUNUP page.